Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to our webinar organized by FireSafe India Foundation. The purpose of this webinar, you would have seen recent fire, especially that happened in Bangalore, which I stay very close by. Every fire accident is an eye opener. And as you see, our statistic says in the last 10 years, average death due to fire is around 26,000 people. And every fire, we get average 608 fire calls per day all over India. The statistics, when you look at statistics, quite disturbing that so many fire calls, fire accidents are happening, fire incidents are happening. Now, how can we wake up? So this particular webinar is one of the important webinar to ensure that citizens learn about saving their lives. And also the FireSafe India's objective is to make sure that citizens are equipped to come out what they see as a non-compliant, buildings are non-compliant or violating the safety part of it. They can always reach out to FireSafe India and gather those information. So we are trying our best to reach out to every citizens of this country, and we keep getting the best experts to speak on their experience and their learning about these incidents. And today I'm so glad that we have one of the best speakers from all across India. With me, I have our chairman, Mr. Deshmukh, MB Deshmukh, who is the chairman of FireSafe India. And Mr. Deshmukh is a fire professional since last 38 years and active in firefighting operation for 20 years in the industrial belt. He has handled HR, security, and IT department of MIDC, Government of Maharashtra, for more than 15 years. He has been the fire advisor and director of Maharashtra Fire Services, a Government of Maharashtra. His passion is to drive Mission Safe India. So before I welcome Mr. Deshmukh, I would like to play the corporate video of FireSafe India. Can I request Lakshmi to play the corporate video of FSIF?
Time is ticking. Have you ever thought how safe your home or building is? Have you seen a fire extinguisher being used? Have you ever attended a fire drill? Do you even know if your building has a valid no objection certificate? Are you aware of the local fire laws? And did you know that every year around 25,000 people die in India due to fire incidents? It means that on an average around 60 people die every day in fire accidents. Did you know that every fifth fire death in the world occurs in India? Do you know that in India there are around 680 fire emergency calls every day? Do you know that most of the fire accidents are caused due to ignorance? It is not surprising you didn't, because we tend to think that fire incidents take place far from where we are till one day, without any warning, we just could be in the midst of grave danger. It is for this reason that we need to sensitize and create awareness, which can be achieved only through education and social activism. And the time for that is now. Need we say that your participation is of paramount importance? Well, we guess not. So what can we do to make ourselves and our country safe? Welcome to the FireSafe India Foundation, an organization that has been founded and is being nurtured by some of the best minds from the fire industry. These brilliant visionaries have taken up the Herculean task of making not just you and your family safe, but in the process transform our country to be a fire-safe nation. The FireSafe India Foundation is a not-for-profit body built on the pillars of wisdom, compassion, and empathy, driven by passion for creating a safe nation that we all so lovingly call Bharat. Our vision is to draw strength from our learnings, develop programs to cater to the masses, imbibe in them a sense of awareness, commit them to learn, share, and care for their fellow citizens through the channels of brotherhood that we create to transform our country into a fire-safe nation. And our mission, ladies and gentlemen, is to safeguard and improve the quality of life of our citizens through fire prevention and protection. Sensitize authorities and our fellow citizens about the risks of fire by adopting various channels of communication and social media. Advocate compliance of fire safety and strictly adopt building codes for fire-safe occupancy of public and private premises through social activism. Create mass awareness through education. Award and reward acts of courage and rescue by firefighters and general public during fire incidents. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the Fire Safe India Foundation, a first-of-its-kind organization created for the citizens to empower all to be fire safe. A better future can be created if all of us join together to make a change. Inviting you to become a member and be a part of this organization. It is our pleasure to introduce to you our chairman and the advisory board of some of the best names in the country. These names in themselves are a stamp of recognition and prelude to the success the Fire Safe India Foundation will receive. Our chairman is Mr. M.V. Deshmukh, former fire advisor and director of Maharashtra Fire Services and president, National Association of Fire Officers. And this, ladies and gentlemen, comprises of the advisory board of the Fire Safe India Foundation. For more information and also to sign up for a Fire Safe Bharat, do log on to www.firesafeindia.org. Change begins with you. Change begins with us. In the words of the father of the nation, let's be the change we want to see.
Thank you, Lakshmi. Can you unshare? I now welcome the chairman of Fire Safe India Foundation, Shri M.B. Deshmukh. Deshmukh, sir.
Good evening, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be with you all today again. As the brief about the objective and the mission of the Fire Safe India is very nicely elaborated in the self-explanatory video that we have shown you. I have a great pleasure to welcome today's speaker, Mr. Abbay Prandare, the moderator of the panel, Mr. R.C. Sharma, the former director of Delhi Fire Service. We have Mr. Ashok Menon as a panelist.
Okay, let me try once again.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's up.
It's
You can
visible now?
enlarge it.
You know,
Yeah, you can enlarge the screens.
Okay. Yes, so sorry for that. What I was trying to say is that Agni or fire has a very special place in our religion, in our culture. And because of this fact that we consider it a divine phenomenon, actually very less attempts have been made to study it or to do research on it. But as you know, when Agni goes out of control, then of course we have to ensure that people remain safe. And that's why in the last approximately 5 decades, actual research started on the phenomenon of fire. Up till now, very less has been done. So, and most of this has been done in the developed countries. What we are trying to do is we are trying to understand what has been done there and how we can best adapt it to our situation. So my presentation will basically deal with the scientific aspects of the risk from a fire in a building. I've been told repeatedly that we have, it's not for professionals, this program. So we have even people who are not from a professional background. So I will try to keep it as simple as possible. But of course, when we say science, some science is involved. So let's go on. What I'm going to talk about is why people die in building fires. So we need to understand the science behind that. What is actually happening when a fire happens, when a fire occurs in a building. And of course, we learn from past incidents. So what do past incidents have taught us? Do they corroborate what science tells us? Or do we learn something different from past incidents? How codes address life safety in buildings? So what we know today, the hazards from a fire, are they addressed sufficiently by the codes? We also need to look at some socio-cultural issues, whether they matter or not. Why we as a country have still not been able to do a good job of controlling the problem of fire safety. Our fire fatalities are amongst the highest in the world. So what do socio-cultural issues and attitudes have to do with this? And finally, we'll look at some important steps to mitigating the risk from building fires. Of course, we have some operational experts who are panelists here, and they will certainly give you much more practical guidance. I will limit my advice to what we look at in this presentation. I would like to start by dispelling some myths which unfortunately are prevailing in this country. And the first is that building fires grow much faster than what most people believe. So this is something true not only for India, it is true for most developed countries also. This is what my professors used to tell me as well, that people don't realize how fast a fire can grow. And that fires have changed over time. So a fire which happened in a building 50 years back and what is happening today are different. And to convince you about this, I would like to show you a small video. But before that, just a small representation of how a fire actually grows in a building. So you will see here that on the y-axis here, we have the temperature and we have time here. And as the fire grows, you will see that initially it grows slowly, which is the incipient stage. And then it suddenly grows very fast. And that's a stage known as flashover, where the entire room is now consumed by the fire. All the materials in the room start burning. And it is at this stage, at the incipient stage, that most of the fire protection systems are supposed to work, so that we can modify the growth of the fire at this stage and not allow it to develop. Okay, so all the actions that we need to do here. It's a very small period of time that we have, a small window of opportunity. But if we can use it well, if we understand the situation, then we can do it and prevent a major disaster. So I would like to show you a video. This is an experiment which was conducted by a safety organization called Underwriters Laboratories. What they did was they took two identical sized rooms and put the same kind of furnishings in both the same, we call it a fire load in fire engineering terminology. So they put the same fire load in both the rooms. The only difference was that in the legacy room, they put very old furniture from the 1950s. And in the modern room, they put new furniture, what we use today. So please observe what happens when both the rooms are set on fire. You can see the time below. It's not real time. I have fast forwarded at certain points, but I think the message will be very clear. You can clearly see the difference now between the two fires. And the stage where you see flames coming out of the room, that's known as flashover in fire engineering terminology. So that's the point after which it's unlikely that anyone in the room will survive. Now you can see it's almost 15 minutes, 20 now. And you can see the flames coming out from the legacy room now, which is an indication of flashover. And you can see the difference now. The time to flashover for the modern room was 3 minutes and 40 seconds, while it was almost 9 times of that in case of the legacy older room. So what we can infer is that fires are growing very fast. The response times have reduced. The reaction time for occupants have reduced. Newer materials, that means polymers, engineered boards, expanded foams, they release their energy much faster as compared to older materials. So fires are of shorter duration and they are much hotter. So the temperatures reached are very high and flashover occurs very, very quickly. Modern homes have higher fuel loads. I did not prove this. Just compare your house with that of your grandparents and you'll realize how much material we have in our homes today. Early flashovers mean less reaction times, both for firefighters as well as occupants. And the maxim, when second counts, was never more relevant. I myself am the son of a fire officer, and during the fire service day on 14th April, he would show us posters. And I remember seeing this poster which said, when seconds count. I think probably what we need to tell our children is when milliseconds count, because the time is so short for you to react to a building fire that you need to be well prepared, well trained, and you need to understand what's going to happen. There are new challenges now. If you live or work in a building with a facade, what we call an artificial cover to a building. So ACP is aluminum composite panel. The challenges are even more severe. Most ACP used in commercial buildings today is combustible. And what you're seeing on the left is a photograph of an external facade of a building on fire. And this is a famous fire which occurred in 2017 in London. It's known as the Grenfell Tower fire, where 75 people died in this fire. So we have this problem now in our cities. We were not aware about it up till now, but now we know that this problem exists. Smoke from building fires, we all talk about smoke being the culprit and not the fire. So what does smoke do? So Smoke from building fires affects visibility very quickly. And importantly, it contains a concoction of deadly toxic and irritant gases. And just to share some basic scientific principles behind this, that when I have a fire in a building, that fire doesn't burn the same way as a fire which is outside. Two factors. One, because there is a cover over the fire, it prevents the required amount of oxygen reaching the fire. And secondly, because of that cover, it doesn't allow the heat to get dissipated. It doesn't allow the gas to get dispersed. And that's where the problem lies. So the presence of ceiling and walls prevent the dissipation of convected and radiated heat. And there is a limited amount of oxygen available, resulting in different products of combustion. Now remember, most fuels in the buildings contain carbon. Okay, we are talking of natural fuels such as wood, paper, cloths. These are all carbonaceous in nature. Besides that, we have a lot of polymers and plastics which we use in our buildings. Again, these contain a large amount of carbon. Under normal circumstances, if complete combustion were to occur, then you would have carbon dioxide as the product. But where I have less amount of ventilation available, then it results in the development of carbon monoxide instead of carbon dioxide. And that's where the crux of the problem lies in building fires. We'll talk about it a little bit more. The fire gases that are given off are trapped inside the structure, so they can be transported to other areas of the building. So we have three major effects when a fire starts due to the smoke. One is the reduction in visibility. Second is the effect of toxic gases. And the third is the burns due to the hot smoke. So even the smoke itself is very hot. It radiates heat, and if your body comes in contact with hot smoke, it can cause burns. And mostly these three effects occur in approximately this sequence. Not necessarily, it could be different in certain fires, but for majority of the building fires, this effect would occur in this sequence. Just to give you an idea of how quickly visibility is lost when there is a building fire, you can see a sofa being burnt. Again, this is an experiment being carried out. And you can see that after 3 minutes, that's the third minute there, and you can hardly see anything in the room. And in the fourth minute, you can't even see the flames. What about toxic gases? So you will see that our normal respiration, we inhale oxygen, it goes into our lungs, and from there the oxygenated blood reaches the different parts of the body. However, when we have carbon monoxide in the environment, then carbon monoxide does not allow oxygen to mix with the blood. So normally we have hemoglobin absorbing oxygen, but carbon monoxide doesn't allow that, and it forms carboxyhemoglobin, which doesn't allow your oxygen to reach your brain, to reach the other parts of the body. So what is happening is that you are inhaling more and more carbon monoxide. There's some issue with my presentation. Please bear with me for a minute. Okay, and when I start inhaling carbon monoxide, what happens is that my organs, my brain are not getting sufficient carbon monoxide, and these are the various effects that you will see: headaches, nausea, dizziness, breathlessness, collapse, loss of consciousness, and ultimately death. So at what percentage of carbon monoxide does this happen? So just to give you an idea, at 1.28% carbon monoxide in the environment, unconsciousness occurs after 2 to 3 breaths, and death can occur in less than 3 minutes. So does this kind of concentration actually occur during building fires? So this is again from an experimental research paper which was carried out. And 400 kilowatt heat release rate, this is how fires are measured in terms of heat release rate. 400 kilowatt heat release rate is a very small fire, so it's like a sofa on fire. Carbon monoxide concentrations of up to 3.5% have been observed in the front portion of the upper layer. So you can see that in most building fires, the concentration of carbon monoxide is far, far higher than what we can call safe levels. Does this happen in practice? This is from an incident which occurred in 2018. And this young lady, she saw fire in her building. She started going up the stairs and informing the various occupants, knocking on doors of flats to alert other residents to a fire that had started in the stairwell a little after 2 a.m. Thanks to others, almost everyone escaped to safety, but Swati couldn't. Firefighters found her dead 2 hours later next to the gate leading to the 10th floor terrace. The gate was locked, trapping Swati in the stairwell filled with thick smoke. Now this is an assumption that it was filled with, it may not even be filled with thick smoke, even if it has the required amount of carbon monoxide. That carbon monoxide she would have been inhaling. Even as she went up, she did not realize it. Maybe you start experiencing some mild headache. And as the concentration of carbon monoxide increased in the body, she probably lost consciousness. You still continue to breathe, the level of carbon monoxide increases, and finally you die. Another example, this happened in 2019. It was a fire in a government building, and one of the fire officers, he came there. He was an ex-Air Force employee. He helped the other people remove material, do firefighting, and all the while he was inhaling carbon monoxide. And when he fell down and fell unconscious, he got taken to the hospital and he was declared dead. Again, this was a case of carbon monoxide poisoning. So we should be aware that whenever we are in a building and there is a fire, the environment is changing fast, it is becoming toxic. We need to be out of that building as quickly as possible. The next myth we should be aware of is that smoke does not remain confined to the compartment on fire. Smoke will always get transported. And why does this happen? This happens due to the effect of buoyancy, due to the wind and stack effect, and due to mechanical ventilation in the building. And the smoke can actually reach areas far away from the original fire. So this is the effect of buoyancy. Buoyancy means something that is light. The smoke becomes light due to the heat energy which is imparted to it from the fire. And that's why the smoke rises and it goes into different parts of the building. More the size of the fire,